Welcome to the Boss Bar, brought to you by Boss Up Magazine. The Boss Bar is the official podcast for emerging entrepreneurs and successful business owners. Tune in each and every Thursday for an intimate conversation with the boss behind the business. Want to learn more about our guest? Simply go to bossupmag.org. I am your host, Destiny, and we have an amazing show lined up for you today. But first, a word from our sponsor. If networking with people headed to the top is something you enjoy, the Cupcakes and Conversation Tour is an event you do not want to miss. Meet us in Wilmington, Delaware on July 20th, where we will be sharing the ins and outs of being a boss with people making major boss moves. This event will have cupcakes, mimosas, guest speakers, and more. Go to www.bossupmag.org to get your tickets today. That's www.bossupmag.org. Hey y'all, it's time for the Boss Move of the Week. Now this is the part of the show where we recognize everyday entrepreneurs and those giving back to the community. Today's Boss Move of the Week comes from my hometown of Detroit, Michigan. I want to give a very huge shout out to Theresa Siaw and her organization Bless Women United for being officially cleared as a nonprofit after getting their 501c3 approved. Bless Women United is an organization that seeks to encourage, uplift, and support women, especially single moms, by hosting inspirational events that empower them to step out of their comfort zone and share their stories. You know, being consistent isn't always easy, and I know this firsthand. Many people start with these great ideas and intentions, and they do the fun part of it, but when it comes to the hard work, the paperwork, the filing, just all those things that it takes to really make your vision come to life, they fell short and they give up. So kudos to you, Theresa, for hanging in there, doing the hard work that you needed to do to make your dreams a reality. If you would like to nominate someone for Boss of the Week, send us an email at bossbarpod@gmail.com. And now, let's get into a conversation between the bosses. Welcome to the Boss Bar Podcast, where we introduce you to the boss behind the business. Today, we're talking to Theresa Siaw, who is a social entrepreneur and community activist from Chicago. Theresa is currently directing the OMNI Medical Student Training Program, which helps students who have trained at foreign medical schools to prepare for their first job in the United States. She also has her own nonprofit called the Theresa Siaw Foundation. Theresa believes that a leader should be an advocate for the people in its neighborhoods, not a celebrity, which is why she is still committed to fighting for the community. Welcome to the show, Theresa.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you're here. Now, I know you're in Chicago. I heard you guys just had a random snowstorm like a couple days ago.
Well, it's nothing unusual for Chicago. It'd probably be summer today and then probably winter tomorrow again.
Oh, my gosh, that's crazy. Now, I just have to ask, I went to school in Chicago, so when it comes to pizza, are you more a Giordano's or Gino's East kind of girl?
You didn't name my favorite one, Illuminati.
Oh,
I like the butter crust, and there's the pizza. I eat meat, but I like the Lou. It's all vegetables, spinach, fresh tomatoes, and just cheese. And for some reason, I'm addicted to it. My staff is addicted to it.
Oh my god!
That's probably the only pizza that's the only time I eat my vegetables.
My favorite is Gino's East. I just like I like the decor of the place. I don't know, but that's mine. Mm-hmm. But let's get into the interview. Can you start by just telling me a little bit about yourself and your background?
So I went to school at DePaul University, and I majored in multicultural marketing. My first internship was at the San Jose Group. It was the Hispanic marketing agency, and I always feel like in life things build you up for your future. You don't know the reason why you're doing certain things, but it literally is you're trying to pave a way for what you're going to do next. So after DePaul, I thought I was going to be in advertising or something, because that's what, my degree is pretty much in. And I fell into healthcare with my son's father. He was a doctor in Humboldt Park, in that area for close to 20 years. And he passed away in 2014. And I was the one that pretty much, before he passed away, I revamped his clinics and revamped the way healthcare was. At that time, in 2010, a lot of people didn't have nurse practitioners or physician assistants. He was like one of the very first doctors that had a physician assistant, and I remember him arguing with hospitals and saying that, physician assistants are going to be just like providers, and it's going to probably replace providers. People didn't believe it. But now, you probably go to your doctor's office, and you have a physician assistant or a nurse practitioner that sees you.
Yeah.
So he was like always the pioneer of starting something, different. And everybody, fell in place. And now in hospitals, you have nurse practitioners and physician assistants all over the place. But one thing in particular about him is that he graduated from, he's Arabic. And he graduated from Damascus, University of Damascus. He was a foreign medical grad. And his heart was always in helping other foreign students just like himself get into residency here in the U.S. And that's where the business pretty much came from. He was being a doctor in the clinics, and I was starting this medical student program by helping foreign medical students get into doing their clinical clerkship here in the U.S. And then hopefully they could get a residency spot or match, what we call match, in one of the hospitals here in the U.S. anywhere. And that's what I became really good at, and I became really good at the healthcare aspect. I was a marketing person. I was everything. You wear many hats when you try to own your own business. So after he passed away, our company grew. So now I'm like the sole member. But our company grew, and we were able to I was able to still keep the contracts that he had, because they're almost like grandfathered in memory of him. And at Weiss Memorial Hospital, even though we've been through 3 different ownerships here at Weiss, I really love the new owners. It's called Pipeline, and they sit down with me almost every single day, and we pretty much talk about what doctors are coming to the hospital, how we can make the residency program here in the hospital better and much more accommodating for not only just foreign medical students, but Caribbean medical students, like doctors who are U.S. born that go to foreign medical schools, such as in the Caribbean, so they can become a doctor. Because a lot of people think when you go to, when you get older, like right now I'm 32 years old, and let's say I would have changed my life goals right now. I want to be a doctor. At one point in time I did, but not anymore. I want to be a doctor. It's a long pathway to do it here in the U.S. You have to pass the MCAT. If you don't get a high score on the MCAT, you're not going to. You have a very few options for medical schools to go to. Not only that, your age is a factor as well, because when you go to medical school, you have to complete residency, which is 3 years. 3 to 4 years. And then if you want to do a fellowship, like let's say you want to be in cardiology or something else, or dermatology, that's another, could be another 2 to 1 year. So you're spending a lot of time. So you're already spending like close to 8 years in medical school before you even start your career. So that means I will be in my 40s graduating and not really having an income. So the other option is that we tell the students, you don't have to pass the MCAT. Go to Caribbean medical schools and go over there, and you get the same quality education. Maybe not all schools over there. You got to always do your research. You got to always make sure that you're, you're doing researching the school, making sure that this school is legitimate, because it's not controlled by the U.S. Board of Education. So you have to do your own. Even before you invest in something, make sure that you know 100% about it. And so there's schools in the Caribbean that are legitimate, that helps you get into residency, that do let you do their rotation at the hospital that I'm in, at Weiss Memorial Hospital or West Suburban. And those are what we call them are accredited programs. So in places like University of Illinois, University of Chicago, they have medical students that come over here. So basically that's why they're accredited, because a U.S. medical students could come over here and do their teaching and their training at these hospitals.
Okay.
So we make sure that everything is 100% legitimate, and we're pretty much the agent for the hospital in the schools, making sure that the schools are accredited, making sure that they are doing their curriculum, the doctors are teaching the curriculum, and making sure that the students are able to match one day. So right now we have our match rate, which is the residency rate, which they have left their medical school and came, it's always on St. Patrick's Day. And 100% of our students match. And then every year there's always 2 or 3 students that match into these big hospitals. One of our students, she matched at Yale. Yale. And then one of them went to Duke, and then one of them went to Johns Hopkins. And I'm like, I told the students, I'm like, you never know, who you're going to meet, and you never know what your dreams can take you. I mean, right now, today you might be 33, but you're 40 years old, or you're 30-something years old, and you wake up one day and you're in Yale. So I was just like, we have some of the brightest students, and I love what I do, because, in the end of the day, these students they're going to save lives, and it makes me feel good that I was able to be part of that, be part of their education and their experience.
That's beautiful. So so basically what you're saying with the OMNI Student Medical Training Program, you have students that come from overseas that want to pursue a career in the medical field, and you basically help to match them with accredited programs here in the U.S.
Correct. So it's just for physicians, only for them to become doctors, so they're aspiring to become a doctor.
That's really, really cool.
Yeah. It's a unique business, but it works.
Yeah. I mean, you're providing a need. You're really helping people out. I want to talk a little bit more about your nonprofit, the Theresa Siaw Foundation. What made you want to start that foundation?
So again, it all goes back to me working in healthcare, and when my son's father, when he was alive, he was the kindest doctor, always giving back to the community. And sometimes, when you're younger, you're like, when I was 23, I was just like, why are you always giving back? Like, not bitter. I wasn't bitter, but I was just like, some people sometimes are ungrateful when you do things for them. And he was just the type of person, he used to give out thousands of turkeys out. He was one of the very first people to give out turkeys, to his patients, because he was compassionate. People would come in, because we're in Humboldt Park. If people look up the geography of Humboldt Park in that area, it's underserved. So it's low income, you have a lot of public aid, you have a lot of housing, people that are in housing. So you have a lot of people that do not have as much. And he was always giving back to people. If they needed to get a ride to the clinic, Theresa, to other girls, go buy a bus pass for some of the patients so they could come over here. Because a lot of times in minority areas, healthcare is a huge issue. And if you hear about things in Chicago, I mean, the birth rates of certain places, we're not OBGYN, but if you look at the birth rates in minority areas and you really examine, did these women, especially in African-American areas, did these women get the prenatal care before they deliver? And maybe 9 times out of 10, no, they did not. So a lot of people in those type of areas are very neglected. And he was the type of person that said that, I'm going to focus on this area. And he became extremely successful. Now, our clinic that area is number 1. Even after he passed away, I was able to hold on to the clinic because a lot of the people wanted to see my son grow up. They keep asking. They said, he's 6 years old right now. They said, one day he's going to be a doctor. He's going to be my doctor. I'm like, by that time happens, I don't know. He keeps saying he wants to be an engineer. He loves Thomas the Train. So that's what basically started my foundation, is giving back to the community. And then getting into politics, it made me even open up my eyes more about how much people are in need, especially in minority areas. And I'm very big about helping women, advocating for women, because we're the majority in the population, but we are only 11% of us are leaders. And it's something that, when I go to meetings, majority of the meetings most of the times are all men. And sometimes it's just worrisome to me, is this ever going to change? And it's mostly white men that are in the meetings. I was just like, is this ever going to change? I want to see more females. I don't care what color they are, but I want to see more females at the table with me, because sometimes I'm much more compassionate. We could understand and we could relate. They say that we're too emotional, but sometimes having that emotion makes a difference. Yeah, correct. It makes you be able to connect, especially working in healthcare. You can't be emotionless. I mean, it could be about business, but at the end of the day, you're also treating somebody. And that is why in our office, we're in one of the largest practice in Illinois, because every patient that could come in, they'll be like, oh, Theresa, they'll see me down the street. Some people have hopped in my car. I don't feel that danger, most people say in Chicago, but, you build a connection with your patients. You build that rapport with them, and that you're able to have that type of, like, if I tell them, hey, you need to go to the doctor today, you need to go see this person, if something happens, they'll listen to me 100%, even though I'm not a doctor, but they feel like I'm part of their family, that I have their best interest. And that's why sometimes right now healthcare has moved themselves away from that, having the best interest for their patient. Even
it's
though
kind of more about profit at this point.
Correct. And so that's why you do this stuff in your foundation, is because they don't know where their next meal is coming from. So if I could help them, and I could team up with local organizations that could give them food for their table. We every Thursdays during the summertime, we feed the homeless in our parking lot, and we make sure that they are getting fed. We're making sure that something is given to them. A lot of people are like, no, you're helping out drug addicts. I'm not here to judge anybody, and everybody has their own issues and problems, but at the end of the day, you're still a human being. So that's the first thing I look at you. Everybody has made their mistakes in life, and that's one thing I want this foundation to keep doing, is helping the underserved communities, and helping more minority communities, and helping women to get on their feet, and to be able to be, I want them to be like maybe 50% of the leaders in the world.
Yeah, no, that's really important. Now, you mentioned the homeless outreach that you guys do in the summertime. Can you tell me some other outreaches or events that your foundation puts on?
So we do a lot of schools. We help a lot of schools. Education is a huge thing for me, being that I'm in a medical education field. I want to make sure that our kids in our neighborhood and our community are getting the same thing and the same exact extracurricular activities if they were to be in the suburbs. And that's something that is dear to me. I played sports. My cousin played sports. Everybody in my family was really good at sports. And I went to a school called Hinsdale South. My parents, put me in boarding school the majority of my life, and I was able to get that one-on-one focus. So versus being in a public school where it's a lot of, the student body is a lot in a one class. And then I went to public school in high school, and I was great at track, and I was great at other sports. And when you come here in Chicago, you don't have that same opportunity. I mean, every school in the suburb has like a track field, a football field, a soccer field. They have almost everything, swimming team, everything. You come to Chicago, how many schools do you know that has a swimming pool? How many schools have a track? I remember when I was younger, I ran against, I don't know, it was a Chicago school, and they never had a track.
Wow.
And here in Hinsdale, we have two tracks. We have 2 football fields. We have an indoor track. There's an indoor track team, and then you have the outdoor track team. And here in Chicago, some people don't even have those facilities. So I thought, I talked to my team, and especially with I love exclusive PR because it's an all-women's team as well. So I said, I want to give money to some of the schools here in Chicago. And we were able to pinpoint Roberto Clemente High School and donate $35,000. And you know how many students it helped? Over 300 kids that program was able to help. And that's 300 kids that you're taking off the streets, that you are impacting their future.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
This is here, correct. This is here in Chicago, and those kids were, I had the letters from them, like, thank you so much. And the majority of the letters was just saying what I just said. You helped me not go on the streets. That program, they could do weights, they could do baseballs, they had a swimming pool. this was at Roberto Clemente High School because they had the facilities, but they weren't using their facilities properly because they had no money. They have no money from the Board of Education is not giving them money. Correct.
Yeah.
CPS is not giving them money to operate. So we pay taxes and everything, but you have to understand that there's so many schools in Chicago, and these schools are so old that they're being run down. It costs probably more money in upkeep than maybe you could build a new school. That's how I feel. Some schools even have air conditioning. Some schools I went to, they just wanted a theater program for their kids, so that's an outlet for those kids to talk to what their one of their not elders, but somebody they look up to. A lot of the kids, I gave $5,000 to Noble. And I was thinking, they should do sports. Everybody should do sports. That's back in our day.
Yeah.
But now, everybody wants to do theater. They want to become actors. They have different things.
Yeah.
And so these kids were able to open up into out of their shells because you don't know what's going on in their home. Some kids don't even have food on their table. So that's one thing I like about some of the Chicago public schools, that they are able to offer drop-offs. Like you could go to the school and walk it in the summertime, walk by, and you could pick up a meal. But
yeah, I've heard of that program.
Sometimes the meals are not the best either. You're talking about you're getting a sandwich with one piece of meat, cheese, and that's not a meal to me. So that's why we open up our doors. I partner with a restaurant called La Bricana. We open up the doors over there, and the people are able to come by almost any time if you have a school ID on Wednesdays for students to bring to get food. And you don't have to say anything. It's just only Wednesday, and they have an ID, and they could get a meal, a hot meal, and a healthy meal at that too. So
that's really commendable.
We do
that's
a lot.
Really great. That's really cool. So how did you go about starting this foundation? Like, what were some of the steps that you had to take to put it into action?
Lucky I have a great team. Like I said, Exclusive PR. They pretty much help with setting up the foundation because I'm a very busy person. So I try to do things. You notice I missed the first phone call. I try to be my own assistant, and it's really hard.
Yeah.
But I have a great team of people that are around me, and sometimes I slip up or I don't necessarily know what's going on because I'm always running around 100 miles per hour, and they set up the foundation. They were able to get everything working. They did the media for it, and the PR for it. So I'm glad that I've had that opportunity. But if somebody is a person that do not have the finances and the means that I have, to just get up and just start your own not-for-profit, it's great to probably, look into places that have workshops because I know I'm always open ears. If people send me an email or something, I will try to help you. I'm not the type of person that want to charge people for it because at the end of the day, I'm comfortable about my own income and what I do. But I was never given like the directions in life. Like here's I just going to get it handed to you. But and then you just figure it out. I always had to pay lawyers to do everything, and I love to talk on panels. I love to talk on panels because I'm giving you the actual information. I'm not going to say, got to read this book or sell you something.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I'm telling you how I did
it.
Do
something. Yeah, this is how I did it. And maybe you don't know how to do it, but go to, the Cyber Drive. This is Illinois. I can't talk about other states. Cyber Drive. It gives you the instructions. You could go pay LegalZoom and all those type of people, but you're not going to completely have a complete business. And I always try to tell people you need advice. There's legal aid. There's free legal aid at places. If I knew some of this, I'll have a lot more money in my pocket without paying all these lawyers to try to do something very simple for you.
Yeah.
And then, you always make a mistake, and I always say you're going to fail. But starting a business, you could probably Google somebody's name, and they probably started with so many different businesses, or Cyber Drive. It's all public record, and sometimes it fails, or you just didn't do it right. You didn't open your business in the proper way. Learning what a C corporation is, not-for-profit. If you're doing the not-for-profit, you have to make sure that you put paperwork in. It's a long process. That is why you have to have a team of people too. That's why I have a great team of people. Go to those workshops. You can mess up easily by the wording of what your description of your not-for-profit. You got to make your reports to the inspector general. So things are regulated. So some people don't know all that information. They're thinking it's like, oh, it's like a business. I'm like, no, you're regulated. you just got to make sure that you're reporting things, and you got to get don't get the best lawyer, but just get a lawyer that can do the work for you. You don't get those lawyers that I have that you're paying like $500 an hour versus a person that you have a friend that can help you start it, and maybe you could give them a couple $100 to help you do it versus I have a phone call with my lawyer. I'm like, that's almost $1,000. We're not even going anywhere with it.
It's really important for entrepreneurs and people that are passionate about things that are super busy to really understand the importance of delegating tasks to other people. You can't do it all yourself. I mean, your vision can still be there if you're able to properly communicate it. But if you're able to delegate and you have those people that you can say, hey, can you do this for me? Can you do that for me? Or if you're able to hire someone to do it, that's always the best thing because you don't want to burn yourself out,
Correct. And you're doing a million things to try to start your business and, grow in your not-for-profit. I always look at not-for-profit as a business, too, because it starts as a business, and you have to make sure that you're passionate enough doing it and asking for help. If you can't ask for help, how can you get money for your not-for-profit? And that's a big thing. Are you going to be your first donor, or are you going to ask businesses around? There's a lot of places and a lot of people that will be willing to give money because of tax issues and they can write it off. And that's the one thing that people forget is that a lot of companies make a lot of money, and they want to do things so they can write off because they don't want to pay a lot of taxes. So going to some of these businesses, even small businesses, some people they think that maybe they have one or two people in a business. You never know. A lot of your local businesses, they can help you financially. Those auto shops, those small restaurants that you're like, oh, they're very, like very artsy type of restaurants. They make a good amount of money, and they could just donate things to you. They could maybe not throw money, but they could donate things to your events, and which is considered to us money. And they can help you get the ball rolling as well, too, especially if you are passionate about – people are going to be able to see how passionate you are. And if they can see that passion in you, they'll more likely invest in you or and more likely donate to you. So that's why when I ran into politics, when I was doing this political run, I noticed that about a lot of people. If you want to make a change and make a difference, people can feel that. And, you can feel that vibe from them. And that's why people, that energy, correct. So I always tell people, and it doesn't hurt to ask, because sometimes I'm a sucker sometimes, and people just come, I'm doing this, I'm like, yeah, I'll write you a check. Like, you just ask, like, it just doesn't even take that much, Jazz. So there's a lot of people like me, and they're just like, oh, yeah, we'll do it, because we're that type of person that we're very involved, want to see the change. And especially younger people that are doing these not-for-profits, I'm so for them, because they are being the voice for their future, and they're standing up for something. Versus when I was their age, I did not know what was going on in life. I don't even know what was coming or going. I just was crying like, I need to get a job.
We're so much more connected now. I want to talk a little bit more about the new project that your organization is undertaking, the National Prescription Drug Take Back Day. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yes, so we're always doing something different. And one thing is that we partner up with OMNI Healthcare and a couple of, I think, legislators, we believe. And we're going to start, a lot of people have medications that are left over in their homes, and they do not know how to dispose of them. A lot of times, and we have had patients that have passed away because they took the wrong medication. People have kids in their home. Elderly people are not taking it. They could say, oh, I'm in pain, and guess what? You took a medication that you expired 5 years ago, and it's not going to do nothing for you because of the half-life of the medication. Or people come into your home and I have this problem too. They see the medication on yourself, and they could take it because you have a narcotic over there. So what we're doing is that we're trying to get these medications out of the hands of people, and people dispose them in a proper way. If you know the Chicago water system, we have issues with it, and a lot of people just flush their medications down the toilet. really bad idea. It messes up our own water system, and we cannot filter those type of medications out of our water system. So we need to be more conscious about what we're doing, how to dispose of them correctly, and make sure that we're not poisoning ourselves and keeping our water clean and keeping people healthy and people out of danger. So by partnering up with some of these people, we're going to make sure that we're bringing the awareness to people that we are doing our due diligence in our community and across the nation, that we're taking the first steps by helping people, keeping them healthy, and understanding the risk of how to properly dispose away their own medications.
Yeah, I think that's something a lot of people don't really think of when they get this medicine. You may not need to take it all, but sometimes it just sits in your cabinet forever, and you, you may move, you throw it away, but that's actually still not the proper way to get rid of it.
I'm a hoarder. Yeah, I'm a hoarder. So I have my medication for my surgeries before. And because I'm allergic to Norco, so they have a different type of medication. I'm like, maybe I shouldn't have this medication. I have a 6-year-old around, and he's very active, and what if one day you're sleeping in the bed and you're like, and you don't really think about that, but what if he one day goes into the cabinet, opens up one, and he's a child? So doses for kids are different for adults, and I'm putting my kid in harm's way right now. So not only that, just a medication take back, but also how to store your medications properly and get them out of kids' hands, because I know for a fact that a lot of people, if you go to the hospital, how many times a year a kid comes into the hospital because they took their parents' medication? They're very curious. So we could prevent this. These are very preventable things, and making sure that we're storing them properly. Or if we're not using them, get rid of them. There's no point for them to be around, or for other people to get their hands on, because we have a huge opioid epidemic right now, and it's all over the nation. It's not just Chicago or in Baltimore. It's all over the nation. In small towns, big towns, it's a huge crisis right now amongst the American population. And we need to really do something about it, because it's killing us. It's getting people in detox. And you got to understand, healthcare is a business. And pharmaceuticals is a huge business. They're making billions of dollars. And we got to make sure that they target, I swear, to me, I feel they target minority communities, because if you go into a place like in our area, there's detox clinics left and right. If you don't, you've never probably seen one, but they're there. And it's like people are on methadone, because a lot of people are on opioids. And you go to a hospital sometimes, you get surgery, you can get addicted to opioid in less than 5 days. And now that's something that you're going to be like, oh, I need this medication for almost the rest of your life. But these medications actually do a lot of damage internally. If you wonder if you get a Norco, they're giving you a Colace as well too, because you're going to be constipated. So not only that, now you're taking a medication for a medication. You know what I mean? So
that's how it ends up happening.
Correct. And then that's also, they're doing liver damage as well too. So I always tell people, try to avoid
Be careful with that. Now, if you could tell me, what was the best investment that you made in yourself thus far?
The best investment is taking time for myself.
The time to help myself. Mentally and physically, you have to you're your own boss, so your company relies on you a lot. Having a vacation time, setting aside time for your family, because I could work all day, 24 hours, 7 days a week, I could do it. But it's not beneficial for my son nor me, and then sometimes I lash out, and sometimes you need to take that time and literally help yourself and mentally, because sometimes I'll come to a meeting and sometimes my team will tell me, like, you really need to take time for yourself. You're lashing out. You're very angry. You're very aggressive. And a lot of people, when they're starting their business, they think that they have to dedicate 100% of their time, and that is not good. And you become obsessed with your business, and you become obsessed with trying to be successful. And in order to be successful, you have to you can't be mentally exhausted. You're going to hurt yourself even worse. And I tell that to, like, some of our doctors as well. We have a doctor that he doesn't take breaks. He said that sleep is for the weak. And I said, And I was agreeing to him, like, yes, it is. And then when you own your own business, you're like, no, it's not. You really need to sleep, and you really need to take care of yourself. Because, you know, you could end up in the hospital over here, and what's your business going to do? Your business is going to stop because you're not taking care of yourself. And that's something that people need to really do, is invest in themselves. Sometimes shut off your phone. Social media and everything can wait. And sometimes your business doesn't need you all the time. Like you said, you got to learn how to delegate and learn how to move tasks from yourself and not try to be a micromanager. That's what they call me. They say I micromanage.
Well, I mean, you know.
It's true. It's not a lie. It's true.
Well, that means that you're still getting the job done and you're really passionate about what
Correct.
you do, and you want to make sure that each and every part of it gets handled in the way that it should. Hey guys, we've been talking to Theresa Siaw, who is a social entrepreneur from Chicago, about how she became a boss by giving back to her community. After the break, Theresa and I will share some helpful resources to help you build your business or nonprofit, and we'll get into our listener letter in the Ask a Boss segment. Stay tuned. The Boss Bar Podcast will be right back after these messages. Hey bosses! I want to talk to you about a new accessories brand called Covenant One Creations. Covenant One Creations is based in Detroit, Michigan, and is the best place to get your summer gear. With a variety of unique options from hats and phone cases to t-shirts and hoodies, Covenant One Creations has got you covered. Go to www.covenantonecreations.com and enter offer code BOSSBAR10 at checkout for 10% off your order. What are you waiting for? Go to www.covenantonecreations.com today. Welcome back to the show. We've been talking to Theresa Siaw, who is a social entrepreneur and the founder of the Theresa Siaw Foundation from Chicago. We've been talking to her about how she became a boss by giving back to her community, and she's just really been giving us some helpful insights and tools just about having a nonprofit and managing and just being a boss in every aspect by giving back. This is the time in the show where we are going to talk about boss tools. It's the segment in our show where we share helpful tips that you can use in your business. If you have a tool that you think our listeners will benefit from, you can send us a message at bossbarpod@gmail.com. Today I'm talking to you guys about a service called MailChimp. MailChimp is basically a service that allows you to stay in contact with your followers. Now, recently, a couple weeks ago, Instagram and Facebook, I believe, both went down, and a lot of business owners were freaking out because they were like, oh, I can't make these sales, I can't keep in contact with our clients. Well, the truth of the matter is, honestly, if you have a business, your followers, you don't own them on Instagram or Facebook, so it's best to keep them in line and keep in contact with them via email. So MailChimp makes this super easy. So if you want to check it out, you can go to MailChimp.com and get all the details. I was even able to make a really quick landing page for this website. I think I made it like in 15 minutes. So they make it really easy and really simple for you to stay in touch with your followers. Theresa, do you have a boss tool that you like to share?
I do love my PR people. It has made my life easier, and it's made me not only that, and I have a social media person as well too, because you can't do everything, and I always keep trying to tell people you need to learn how to move things away from you. Like when the social media went down, sometimes I talk to my person, Shannon, and she was like, oh, social media is down today. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm not on there. So then often, but I do browse, and it's very good for, I do browse, and it's very good for somebody to take on that task. And sometimes I ask her questions. I said, so how do you like it? She said, sometimes your page is just too much. It's just too much activity going on. And sometimes people say things to you that are very harsh. And sometimes I would probably take that personal necessarily versus I don't have to see that all the time. And so she kind of filters a lot of things from my Facebook, which I do see because I obsess about certain things. Like if I'm doing this wrong, and you can't please every single person.
Yeah,
I'm a people pleaser. My PR is great is because I don't have to necessarily go out and send things to the media. That's time consuming for me, and I could use my time for other things
focus
as
on
well.
Other things, yeah.
Correct. Versus instead of, building up my brand and building up what I'm trying to do and what I'm trying to get the message across in the community. They're a lot better at what to say and tell me what to do. I listen. I'm good at listening. So a lot of people need to understand that, there's all these tools and stuff out there, but taking criticism is a big thing. Sometimes you want to be like, oh, I'm 100% right at all times, but sometimes you just want to listen. You have to listen to people, and have some, like people have mentors. Just listening to sometimes what your customers or your constituents or people who have led the way before is a good thing too as well. So try to get a PR person, social media person.
Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense. Like we talked about delegating, that's really, really important and a good tool to have. The next segment we're going to go into is called Ask the Boss. And if you have a question about any aspect of starting a business or a nonprofit, being motivated, or you just want to say hello, you can shoot us an email at bossbarpod@gmail.com. This is a pretty straightforward question. I'm just going to paraphrase it. It's pretty long. But this question comes from Samuel from Nashville. Looks like he just started an organization that mentors boys. He's been primarily self-funding it, and he wants to do a scholarship, but he doesn't know where to get the money from. So what would you suggest that Samuel do to get money for his organization?
I think a lot of organizations, it depends where you're located at. So I talk to your local officials, and a lot of times they can redirect you to a place where they can help you, because a lot of people don't understand the makeup of politics. A lot of organizations, a lot of politics want to get involved. Politicians want to get involved because it makes them look better as well, and it also brings awareness to certain things. So you got to remember, is people like to use organizations because they can benefit from it. So you got to remember, your organization has value to a lot of people, especially politicians. So if you want to try to get money, go to your political people, because they can find ways to get grants for you. You can apply for grants. They know a lot more information about how to get money, like your state representatives, your Congress people, especially when it's election time. They're definitely willing to help you out. And you have bodies and stuff like that. If you're having people like, a kids organization like that, they're very willing to help you out. People always want to target like places like McDonald's and big corporations. I always try to say, if your corporation doesn't have notoriety or a huge name, you're not-for-profit, a huge name, try to start small. Go to the local businesses. Get your name out there. Maybe you have a local printer that could help you or pay for, flyers for you. Maybe you have a field house in the community where they could pay for, you could use the field house for free and it's for your kids. You could go to local schools. Maybe some of these local schools, they could do a donation drive for you. Talking to the principals. There's a lot of things that you can do, and if you're you just need to know what field you're in and line that up. There's a lot of hospitals that are willing to help people out as well too. So there's a lot of hospitals that have things that they can get, or they have a lobbyist, or they have some type of political move. That they can help you in attaining certain things. So I always try to tell people, don't try to get money or anything from a certain people. Just try to get,
resources.
Try to do your resources. Try to do a small grassroots, effort, and people will come and people will start donating, and they start hearing about it. People will volunteer freely. There's a lot of people who are activists that don't want money, and that would be part of your organization for life because that's what they do. There's a lot of retired people out there starting some of the senior buildings that they don't have anything else to do. They want to be part of their community, and they want to grow within their community. So there's a lot of options out there.
Yeah, thank you. I think what you said really makes a lot of sense. And another thing that I would say, I'm not sure, Samuel, if your organization is a nonprofit, if you filled out your 501c3 papers, but we were talking about this earlier. A lot of companies really want to give away money because they want to get that tax write-off. So that's probably where I would start. I know when I was going through a process last year when I was with an organization, I went to Target and they were like, well, basically all you have to do is give us a letter with, on your letterhead with your tax ID number and let us know.
Your exemption.
Yeah, let us know
Yeah.
how we can help you or what you need. So yeah, Samuel, I hope that answers your question. It's just about time for us to wrap up the show, but before we go, could you give our listeners some advice? If say if they want to follow in your footsteps, what type of advice would you give to them?
I will always tell people just do it. I mean, it sounds so like Nike and everything, but it just a lot of things in this world in order to be successful or to attain is just being consistent and actually making the effort to do it. A lot of people, what they fail to do, they get bored, they feel like it's too frustrating, they don't know what to do, and then they just give up. It's always going to be hard. Anything you start, nothing comes easy. And that's why I always tell people, it's always going to be hard. There's always going to be rainy days. There's going to be storms, big storms, and you probably want to say, I just can't do this anymore. And it's always at that point where you want to give up, everything gets better. Like right there. That's the lowest you're ever going to get. And you just keep pushing forward. And a lot of people just need to do that and just keep pushing. It might be the smallest thing in the world, People sell fruits. People sell, anything, and they're making it right now. So never give up.
Absolutely. That makes I really agree with that. A lot of times when you're faced with problems or trials, honestly, your breakthrough usually is right around the corner when you're facing all those adversities. So. Thank you so much for that. The last thing is, I have to ask everybody that comes on the Boss Bar, what makes you a boss?
What makes me a boss? I downplay my role a lot. What makes you a boss is always being able to understand people. There's a difference between a boss and a leader, and I think people see those on Instagram. You work with your employees. Your employees are is an asset to your company. So being there for them 100%, and being there for the people that are in love with your brand, that is what makes you a boss. It's not the person that says, "Oh, I run a company." Anybody can run a company, but can you run a company successfully? And are you passionate about what you're doing? That makes a person a boss. And always giving back and always helping the next person, because. If it wasn't for a lot of people to help me out, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. And I always give my knowledge to them for free because it was given to me for free. And I should not be able to, charge them for it, because everybody in this, there's so many business opportunities you could do in this world. And nobody, you're always going to be able to be there for somebody.
Yeah. Now, I have a pretty good listener base in Chicago, the Chicago area. How would someone be able to get involved with your foundation, or if they want to donate or give back, or maybe even want to pick your brain about some things, how would they get involved with you?
They can always visit my website at TheresaSiaw.com. It's TheresaSiaw.com. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I do check my messages.
Oh, good.
And then my social media person, she'll ask me, what do you want to reply back? And then I will give her, a gist of how I want to reply. But if they want to get in contact with me, if they want to visit me face-to-face, we have an office at 2720 West Division called OMNI Healthcare. A lot of people come over there, stop by. They try to get advice, how they want to start a business. And I try to give them, a plan and lead them into the right direction.
That's really, really awesome. Thank you so much for joining us on the show today. I really appreciate your unique perspective that you kind of gave on just nonprofits, entrepreneurship, and giving back to the community. That's really, really commendable, because a lot of times people get up there and they're doing well and they're just like, oh, forget everybody else. Like, that's all they care about
Correct.
is themselves. So it's very rare that you run into somebody that's genuine and really cares about everyone. So I really appreciate you for coming on the show today.
Well, thank you so much for having me again. Thank you.
Yeah. So once again, if you guys want to follow her, you guys can follow her events and everything that she has going on at www.theresasiaw.com. And you can follow her on social media. Just search Theresa Siaw. Thank you guys so much, and we'll catch you next time. You've been listening to the Boss Bar Podcast, brought to you by Boss Up Magazine. Tune in each and every Thursday for an intimate conversation between emerging entrepreneurs and successful business owners. If you would like to have your business featured on the show or have a question you would like to ask the bosses, send us an email at bossbarpod@gmail.com. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week at the Boss Bar.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.